Welcome everyone to this patch notes rundown, patch 9.02 should be. We're having a new unit, and it's cool. It's a Sea Dragon, and they upgrade the Life Binder. And I'm happy to show you what's gonna happen this patch, what balance changes we have, and how they're gonna, change the game, change the meta in my point of view. So let's get started. First of all, we're gonna start, or maybe we start when the patch is gonna release. It's either gonna be today when the video is gonna be released or within the next days. So be prepared to play some nice new updates in Legion. First of all, we have the Sea Dragon, and the Sea Dragon once again is not a unit within a Legion, but it's a self-standing unit like we had with the Vulcan Cannon. It's a tier 3 unit, so the gold cost is according quite low. We have a gold cost of 95, it has 900 health, it has a damage of 37 that already changed, it was already buffed within the time the patch notes have been published. It has quite a nice attack speed, it has range 450, I think this is, I know this is somewhere between Polywalk and the Ranger, for example. Attack damage is magic and the natural is the defense type. What's not mentioned here are two things. First of all, the mana pool is 6 mana, which is important to note, because it has an ability we will see in a second. And what is even more important is its flying. So it will get buffed by Leviathan. So this is very important to note, because Leviathan at the moment does have a lot of synergy units already. Mask, Atom, Halo, you have Windhawk, you have Devilfish, and Seraphim, you have Phoenix, you have Canopy. So there's a lot of units that are flying already, and all those flying units have the Leviathan possibility to get their damage buff. We have Sea Dragon and Life Binder, both with an ability which is about healing. So they will give a unit heal, in this case of the Life Binder it is 200, and take 100 damage themselves for it. Obviously, as soon as the spell is full, this is gonna happen, right? And now the 6 mana pool comes into play, because with a mana pool of 6, you can pump a lot of Pegasus or Steed mana into the Life Binder, and it's gonna heal quite fast. So it is overall a decent combo if you just look at the raw stats. It cannot cast on itself or other Sea Dragons, so there's no possibility to get endless life. And what it doesn't say, and which is still the case on the test server, it can't kill itself with giving away heal. So after she healed quite some time, took 100 damage each time, she's then gonna stay on 1 HP and then giving 200 HP away for free. So this is actually one thing I am a bit concerned about. You will have this possibility to match it with Steeds and Pegasus as just named, the mana pool is quite low, and then it's just gonna spam the heals out, bam, 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 and it's gonna stay on 1 HP and not gonna get a damage loss for it. It's interesting, it might be a bit overpowered with these, with this combo I just presented, but we will have to see how it turns out to be. Overall, I think the unit has a very nice design, I like it. It's going to be complicated to balance, right? We have, it has 900 HP, but since it's starting with full mana, it does basically have 1000 effective HP, because it's going to generate a heal of 2000 and going to lose 100 again. So we add the 200, it's 1.1k, and then we take away the 100, it will self-damage. So we have an effective HP at the start of 1000. The attack speed and the attack damage, the DPS is quite okay as well. It is flying, which is already above, and ranged. Usually ranged units have a lot less HP per gold compared to other units, and with the, let's say, 1k effective HP, 95 gold, let's go round about 10 HP per gold. It's definitely one of the ranged units with the most HP, maybe even the ranged unit with the most HP that is not arcane. So I'm looking forward to see it, and I'm happy to use it. We basically have the same for the Life Binder. You can see the stats here. It's obviously healing a lot more, in this case 600 and taking 300 instead, so you can see it's healing double the amount of what it actually damages itself. The damage pool, or the mana pool here, is a lot higher. There's 11 mana for the Life Binder, so you will obviously have a weaker synergy with Steed and Pegasus. I yeah, looking forward to see your opinions about this new unit. What do you think are good combos? I already named Steed with it. Tempest is going to be good with it. Sadly, it's not a Varg unit, so you're not able to position it between the Lioness and an Alpha Male without debuffing the Alpha Male. It's 5 gold, too expensive for that purpose. But overall, I like the design of the unit. I can see problems with balancing since it's not killing itself and therefore giving away free health after it did give away quite some HP already. But I'm looking forward to see it, right? It's a nice unit. Next one we have some new Legion spells, which is Battle Scars and Divine Blessing. Battle Scars gives, after each round, 400 HP and 3% attack speed to the fighter with the highest damage taken. So just if you have a Banana Bank or a Haven in front, which is the highest HP unit in your build, and you don't have any heals and the Haven dies, it's gonna get the buff. Just as a rough example. Right, so you will be able to get some interesting combos out. I can't imagine all of them yet. Yesterday in the stream we discussed about Banana Bank Chieftains, maybe even some frontline damage dealers like a Phoenix. Could be really cool, where you position your frontline Phoenix and then let it tank a lot. So it's always going to be the highest damage taken unit on some ways where you can afford to lose the Phoenix. And then you just buff it like this. There's a lot of combos that matter a lot with positioning, I assume, so I'm looking forward what Hyder can find out, what they can improve with this spell. You can somehow compare it to either Castle or Investment in stats, and I think it's a cool idea overall. I just have the problem that at the moment the main meta on Hyder is Overbuild and Starve. Play for the late game. There's a lot of late game combos that are very strong, that have great synergies, and all those combos can be played due to Mastermind options. For example, Chaos, we can basically play the same role over and over again. Castle is just giving you some nice scaling if you don't mess up your early game too much. So the Battle Scars obviously helps out this Overbuild and Starve meta, or just hardcore overbuild meta, because you want to go late game. Battle Scars, you want to go late game to make full use of the stats, since you're gonna get those stats every wave. I think there's like a bad synergy on the current meta, but overall I really do like the spell. Now, what I think is a bit more of a niche spell, but it's definitely broken on the right unit, is Divine Blessing. It gives a fighter 2,400 health and 18% attack speed, okay? 18% attack speed, that's an MPS. If the fighter dies, the buff is permanently lost. This is obviously best on healing hardcore solo carry units. Doppelganger, Avenger, Phoenix. I think those are the 3 you should name here first. 2,400 HP, this is around about 1.7 times Titan, I think, if I'm right. And you have an MPS buff. You give it to 1 unit on wave 11. And as you have the solo carry that I just named, plus Butcher, Hatchef, and all those, this is gonna be insane, right? This is gonna spike some single target damage hardcore carries by quite a bit. And once again, this can lead towards the current meta as even getting a buff, since you can you're just gonna overbuild, right? Because you don't want to waste this buff. Obviously, I can see those tactics as well, where you give this to a unit to like get extra stats without having to invest more gold, and you can hardcore push for an all-in play early in the game. For example, let's say you give the 2,400 HP and the attack speed to a unit, whatever, and then you're just gonna go for a hardcore push into 13, and due to the stats you're able to hold before, and even on 13 you're not gonna die yourself, and then you can just crush your opponents with hardcore push as one possibility I can imagine. Or you play for the passive one, right? Either you're gonna try to keep it the whole time, you're gonna play passive, you're gonna play overvalued, you're gonna use it on a hardcore carry, or you use it to play aggressive, to use the stats, and then later on, you don't mind if you use it because you're going for some sort of all-in play or a almost all-in play. Those are my opinions about the new spells. I love the design from both of them. I love Divine Blessing a bit more, even though I have fear that we will have those oppressive single target combo carries, Avenger, Butcher, Doppelganger Butcher, Phoenix Butcher, that will dominate when this spell is active. Next one, we have some new skins. We have the definitely toxic looking Honeyflower. We have the new and sexy looking Red Eye skin, which is some sort of the Mech Consort. Has some similarities, I think, right there. I love the skins, so go check out the skins in the shop and buy your favorite ones. We have a new secret card. I don't want to comment on it. It's by far the ugliest secret card, I'm sorry to say, but this is really awful looking. I don't know if you kind of like it. I definitely don't. So yeah, let me know your opinion about it. Next one, we have the Card Trader 2.0. I think this is not too important now. The Card Trader has the rotation not once a week, but once a day. So it's a lot more likely to get cards. On top of this, sometimes you can even have 3 legendary cards to get a bit more lucky. I think it's fine if you want to be a collector, get every card once. Pretty cool. But obviously some cards that are, for example, secret, they're appearing a lot less on the shop, a lot more often on the shop, so they're less valuable right now. Next on, there's a Hilo change, and I personally love it. I just hope that people that are not playing for this particularly, that are not being affected by this, might still enjoy it in terms of competitive gameplay that might be streamed. But obviously, me as being an affected Hilo player, I love it, which is ladder points. This is some sort of extra point system that will give like something for you in order to play actively. Often you have that when there's no tournament or when there's just no real goal to play for, you already hit your peak rating you wanted, or you hit 2.8, for example, there's no rating above. You just pretty much ended to play for some weeks towards the end of the season when there were no cups. A lot of high elo players like did a break and stuff like this. And with ladder points, it's gonna get affected. Each week on Monday at 12 a.m., there's gonna be a snapshot, and the current ladder is gonna be rewarded by points. The top 100 are affected by this. And at the end of the season, which is the end of this year or beginning next year, there will be those coins given out to the players, to the top 100 players in terms of point. Obviously, the goat is what you would play for. Like, I mean, this is looking super sexy. I really like the wolf as well. But obviously, I would like to then at least get 2.2 till 10. It's gonna be rough for me. I don't perform too well this season yet, but I gotta improve then. So overall, it's a nice reward system to make high-elo players play more, to have the game more alive, to just force players to play. But here's my concerns. First of all, there's a snapshot once a week, so you will have a lot of rank sitting. You will have somebody who's rank 1 on Saturday. He's not gonna move there, or at least that's what I will imagine. He's not gonna move from this position unless somebody's gonna overtake him, right? Because you want those juicy 2k league points instead of only receiving 800 for rank number 2. The same is, because of this, you will again have the huge smurf problem with high elo players smurfing, which is ruining the game for everybody else and for high elo players that still want to improve their rank, that still want to improve their rating or whatever. So I see a huge problem with this. You can solve it with more frequent snapshots, with a maximum amount of games that you have to play within a frequent time, and so on. There's possibilities, elo decay. There are options. I really love the new system. I love the ladder points. I hope people that are not affected by it will enjoy it as well in terms of competition, high elo competition. So yeah, I love it. I just have my concerns about smurfing being tough often towards the end of the season when people already reach their ranks and others still want to climb. There's going to be a new API 2.0 tool, more about this another time. Now we're gonna go to improvements and fixes and finally to balance changes. I'm already talking way too long. Guild War, maybe I named this first, is now a bit longer, so for all those that are not in Europe, not having the primetime Guild War, you're now able as well to contribute to the Guild War. Personally, I feel like the Guild War is a bit boring after the first few weeks. Nobody really cared about it, at least from those people I know, because it's just nothing you would play for, but for those who are interested, for the young and fresh guilds, this might really be cool. Speed up. Okay, hear me out. We have this huge problem. We have this huge, insane problem. Long games because of overbuild and starve that is the meta at the moment. If you want me to explain more why this is the problem, either go to my stream, I will explain it, or let me know in the comments and I can do a separate video because we're already way over the time. But at the moment, games are going too long because of the meta that is currently in the game. One thing to make it faster was first a sprint that got nerfed again, luckily in some hotfixes, and will get nerfed this patch once again. And now there's a speed up. The whole game, the battle phase, the work production, everything is gonna get speed up by 10%. Here's my two thoughts about this. First of all, this might cause pathing and targeting issues. If units move faster and you have the same tick rate, the unit is moving a longer distance before checking the closest enemy once again. So this can cause targeting issues and pathing issues compared to now existing builds, to now remaining rules. And I hope this is not the case, because always when there's some speed up, some projectile speeds or whatever, there's always going to be targeting and pathing issues, and this is always messing up a lot of the meta. It's not actually of the meta, but of the building people developed throughout the years, even though it's not even intended. So I have a lot of fear of 10% because this has changed a lot, and I really don't want to have some more targeting and pathing fuck-ups, because at the moment I personally feel like, especially with ranged units, this is sometimes already weird. Second thing here, I don't know about this, but just hope this is not the case to make this long game meta shorter. Because if this is the approach to make games shorter, not shortening or not balancing the problem of long games, overbuild and starve, because I think in high-low, the average game is going to like 16, 17. I know like 50% of my games end on 18, 19. If this is one try to make games shorter instead of using balancing, this is the fucking poorest thing I've ever seen. If this is something to make Legion overall just set up better for regular players, because the game time might be too long for a casual game, fine, I didn't say anything. But if this was a try to make games shorter, because you can't figure out what to do in balancing, this is fucking poor, because there are people out there that can explain to you everything why games are going too long. So yeah, either this is to make Legion more casual, or this is just a very poor try. Those are my sense. Down there you have some improvements. Probably the one to mention is on wave 3 now. You will always gain 1 gold for holding your mate's wave, which is especially interesting on wave 3 in ranked games. Some more improvements, but now finally towards balance changes. Health increased 15% on waves 2 till 11. This is very much needed because power mercs, which are non-income mercenaries, mimic, pack leader, ogre, 4-eye, in the first few waves are a bit too strong against the king, because it's either hit or miss, right? Either you destroy your opponent, or he's gonna target the power merc half and it's gonna still leak. This is the most awful way to leak in those cases, or he's clearing because he's sniping out the power merc. So it's always a flip, but overall this is just too strong. So I do like the fact that the health is increased right there, because the king overall is quite weak at the moment due to some changes being made one patch ago. Shutdowns now are slightly less to get if they are get applied for cartel players, or if you play against castle. I'm a bit sad that it's only slightly less, because this is a huge problem of the rock, paper, scissors system. In rank, just imagine you're playing Cartel and your opponent's playing Castle. You're going to be on shutdown on wave like 6 or 7. And then he's just going to farm some free gold just because of the Mastermind option. And then on top, you're going to get punished on 11 while he's going to get buffed. So all the lead you should have had up until this moment is probably gone due to shutdowns. So I hope either this is going to help enough, which I don't think, or there's still going to be changes later on. The league gold is exactly what I explained before in wave 3. Maybe this was something else up here, but now you get at least 1 gold if you hold on wave 3, for example. Sprint, once again getting nerfed. I think I said about sprint enough in streams and in my previous patch rundown. We have Chaos getting nerfed in income. This is very much needed. Chaos is one of the problems why games are going so long at the moment. It is broken because it's once again hit or miss, right? Either you go for those broken late game combos, or you can roll the perfect unit for the perfect way. For example, your opponents are trying an all-in send on 16, you're gonna get honeyflowered, you build a double death cap. Yes, death cap is an awful unit, but on 16, 2 death caps are obviously gonna help out a lot. So for this single purpose, it's great. And then bam, they don't win the all-in because you got lucky for 1 roll, and yeah, that's it. While you just maybe played worse the whole game. Chaos is a bit more RNG than it should be, so a nerf is fine to just make it less actively played in ladder, I think, but with 5 income it's still gonna happen, but it's a good step. It's a good step. Magician getting buffed, fine, I guess that's okay. There's not much to say about it. There's a protector. I don't know if it's a bug fix or if it's a fix that should be the case already. If a unit, for example, now especially talking about Wanderer and Samurai, is having protector on itself, gonna die and revive again. Nowadays it did not have the protector aura on the reviving unit, but now it will. That's pretty cool. I mean, the HP is not getting applied twice, but the protector aura is still existing. So yeah, that's pretty good. A pretty good fix. Next one we have some atom buffs. I wonder why that happens, because atoms are a good opener. You have the double atom opener. That is quite strong in the early game. But the atoms are falling off quite fast, right? They were changed, getting less HP, more towards damage, and therefore they should synergize better, but obviously they're still not dealing a lot of damage. So I think instead of buffing the attack speed, you maybe should buff the attack damage to make it scale better, because they're already very strong like the first 6 waves, maybe the first 7 waves, but after that they don't really scale anymore, so you usually go for the atom opener, double atom, or maybe you build an atom of 3 or 4, but that's about it. Oathbreaker. Getting a nice and juicy 20 HP buff. It's still not gonna hold the snail 100%. Oathbreaker should hold the snail on 1, right? It doesn't matter what the buff is. I mean, this is fine. This could help for 5, for example. This might be able to help for other waves to just keep the Oathbreaker alive a bit longer, but the Oathbreaker should hold the snail in wave 1. It's the strongest wave. It has perfect typing in terms of attack damage. It has perfect typing in terms of defense. And it's going to be weak all the way afterwards up until 9. At least it's never like perfect again up until 9. So I think it should be the only unit that holds a snail in the game. On wave 1, below 100 gold, my opinion. Junior Fisherman, now having more mana gain. I don't know. Like, this might again help build a angler in your back, wave 2, 3, 4. Instead of pushing a worker, just let it stack up and then later on upgrade it. Maybe this helps. I don't know. Sky Queen. In my eyes, the worst unit at the moment. But this change, even though this is quite a lot of attack speed buff, is not gonna do shit. I'm sorry to say it like this. The problem of a Sky Queen is the following. It is an early and mid game unit. It's not gonna scale too well to the late game. So the only situation you're gonna play Sky Queen is, if you have the perfect role for this, you need tanks, you need the Sky Queen, you need supportive units for the Sky Queen, an Aura, Tempest, APS, Steeds, such things, and tanks. And you have to be able to play it in the early game. And since the Sky Queen is not able, even though it's an early game unit, to push 5 workers and then hold double Snail on 3 with the best adds, Steed or Infiltrator, how should you play it? The Sky Queen needs 3 hits on wave 3, and if this is not gonna get changed, you're not gonna play Sky Queen in rank. That's pretty much my guess, because, as I just named, you need tanks, supportive units, and Sky Queen in your role to have a good Sky Queen role. So, you can't really start without Sky Queen, because then you have either supportive units that you don't want to have in the early game because they're not worth their gold, or you have tanks, and you won't get far with only tanks as well, because after 4 you will need some damage. So you will have to build some Sky Queens, and Harpies are not really the same as Sky Queens because they get the buff once since they move, and then afterwards they're not gonna buff themselves anymore. So you will need the Sky Queen 2-shotting wave 3 before that is not getting changed. I think the Sky Queen is not gonna be in the game, at least not in high level. Alright, shifting some power from Windhawk to the Violet. I think Windhawk was fine as it was, holding wave 1, now it is leaking around the same as the Consort, which is still fine, I still like it, but I really do love the fact that Violet is getting a buff. Violet does not feel rewardable for upgrading a unit that should be good on 6 and 9, for example, so I really do like that. Especially with Hermit being that strong at the moment, maybe I should add that. Next on, Varg getting a nerf. I totally disagree with this part. I think Vargs are already very weak in the early game, so I really dislike this nerf, even though it's only 10 HP. What I'm fine with though is Lioness and Alpha Males, especially the Alpha Male buff, getting a higher debuff when placed to units that are the same cost or higher. So the debuff here is fine, which makes Alpha Male more of an positioning unit. Lioness can be very strong, especially with 6 stacks. And the recent changes to it on patch 9.00, I think it was. But the Varg really feels not too great already in the early game, not dealing a lot of damage. Yeah, I think that's not needed. What is needed is a change to Orchid. Orchid is one of the best late game units at the moment because you just have those shurikens killing wave 15, killing wave 18. It's very strong. So once again, I think Infiltrator is fine because Orchid is the problem, and Orchid getting a nerf, which is needed in my eye. But the changes here are made at the wrong end, right? You have health changes, you have attack speed change. But as I just said, the problem of an Orchid is the Shuriken, the spell you can buy for gold with. You can buy with gold. Let's name 18, for example. You have 6 creeps on 18. And if you know you're gonna get this big Sen on 18, you're just gonna spam some Orchids if you have them. Let's say you're gonna end up 5, 6, 7 Orchids, something like this. So you obviously had some before placing some more for 18, and you boost all of them. Those Orchids are able to kill 1/3, which is 2 creeps of the wave, immediately just with their spell. And then you only have to fight against 2/3 of the wave, which is a massive improvement in your game. So the shurikens are the late game problem of the Orchid, not the pure stats. Like this, it's just gonna nerf the early game Orchid, the early game Infiltrator, that are fine. Early game is rigged at the moment anyway. The late game is the problem, and late game Orchid is the problem. But with this change, you're not gonna nerf the late game Orchid, but you're gonna nerf the early game Orchid. That's not gonna really help out on this hardcore part of the Orchid being so strong, which is the shurikens. What you can do, for example, is limit the shurikens by 1 stack. So I think at the moment you can buy 4 stacks of 5 gold each. Maybe just limit them to 3 stacks, 5 each, or maybe 3 stacks, 6 each, I don't know. To just reduce the amount of shurikens it can throw, and therefore keep the health and the attack speed the same, and you will be able to maintain the Orchid in the early game state because there it's totally fine, and nerf the late game. Just one idea. Radiant Halo and Arc of Justice, they're really strong at the moment, especially with Seed and Pegasus, because they can stack up their ramping damage, and if you have a Halo that deals, now it's getting nerfed, you can't get more than 5 stacks, which does deal, what is 5 stacks? I think it's 8 attacks per second, something like this. If your Halo deals 8 attacks per second, alright, with ramping damage, this is already broken, right? This threshold of 5 stacks is way too high. I know this is basically to addressing classic games, but the same is happening in ranked. If you have Halo and Seeds on 20, you're not gonna leak this unless you're like a lot of thousands under value, okay? The maximum stack should be like 2 or 3 to be fine with it. I think 5 is a lot too much in ranked. If you ever get 5, where you need like 8 Pegasus for and no other mana unit, I mean, nobody's playing 1 Halo and 8 Pegasus just for a stack of 5, right? And already with like 2 or 3 stacks, this is pretty broken. So I think the threshold is way too high. Berserker getting some power back. It's still same as Fatalizer. It's still not going to be as good as the old ones because they were just nice off tanks. Swift armor, which is very relevant talking about Berserker, because Swift is just a perfect armor type for early game. They're still not what they used to be, so once again I would like to just give it the HP back a tad and then maybe change the attack speed accordingly, but it's still not as great as it has been. Hydra and Exec, being the base form, are one of the late game units as well. They're getting nerfs. That's fine. That's alright. Holy Avenger and Sovereign. They are an amazing unit to get a Butcher, an amazing unit to clutch hold, and they would be affected quite a bit by the Divine Blessing, the new spell. What's gonna change now? They get reduced damage, and their passive, or their spell, is gonna get changed. Now they do get, or they did get attack speed and damage reduction. Now they got nerfed attack speed, and instead of damage reduction, now they gain flat health. I don't know 100% how this is applied, if this is heal, if this is something else, or if this is max health and heal, or whatever. But I'm happy to see some nerfs together with this. It's still not enough late game units, I think, that got nerfed, because Holy Avenger obviously can be very strong in the late game, but it's very, very OP in the mid game, especially with Butcher. So since I don't know exactly what is happening with this health, I can't comment too much on it. The first version of Patchnotes said that this health is max HP and 50% of this are gonna get healed to the lost HP, but I can't really say anything else yet because this line got removed. Last but not least, there's some mercenaries, or mercenary changes. Attack projectiles of mercenaries are flying 20% faster, so now it's a lot more likely that your unit is not gonna do the last hit, but the mercenary is gonna do. Yeah, so once again a buff to mercenaries, I think, especially to Cannoneer, that was a quite strong mercenary in the early game, but since it's low attacking, often the target was already dead up until the projectile would have landed. And imps are gonna get nerfed as well, which is nice to see, because imps 5, 6, and 9 are like a very strong weapon against certain builds, especially on 5, where usually you can get 80 or 100 out within income. Imps were a very strong source of power, and therefore getting a small nerf. I mean, imps are still gonna spawn in pairs, right? So you have each imp getting nerfed by 20 health. I think it's fine. I think this is good to see. So overall, I think I am very happy with all the extras coming to the patch. We have the ladder points, we have the new skins, we have the new spells, and the new unit. I love all of those. I don't really like the balancing. Most of the changes are fine, and there were units that needs to be changed, but often they got changed at the wrong place. For example, Sky Queen, the Vark, the Orchid, the Arc of Justice, and probably the Berserker as well. So there are changes needed, but not the problems are addressed, but just the unit is getting buffed that didn't perform well, which is not really helping a lot in my eye. Apart from this, there's no real nerfs to late game scaling. There's no nerfs to overbuild and starve, which is the current meta, which is super boring. A lot of Hyler players agree there with me. I'm disappointed to see no changes addressing those topics, but let's see, maybe there's going to be some hop fixes. Fingers crossed. I like the new unit. Let's see how it plays out, and let me know your opinion in the comments. Bye bye.